Welcome to this short video which is going to help you to use the Directly Observed Practical Skills or DOPS assessment sheets. There's nothing complicated about DOPS. All they are is a sheet where you have pre-written down all the criteria that you need to assess whether someone is competent or not to do a task. By having the assessment criteria agreed and written down ahead of time, it ensures that the assessments are valid, consistent every time they are done, and that the standard is clear to everybody. For good competence in a practical task, you need the knowledge and understanding to know what you are doing and why you are doing it. You need the practical skills to carry out the task. How you do the task is just as important as what you do. The right professional behaviours and culture of care.
The EU Working Group on Training and Competency suggested that there should be 5 distinct supervision levels for the trainee. The ETPLAS Working Group has built on this by adding what the trainee is doing at each of the different levels, as this is what you're watching when you're assessing the trainee as they're working. It is challenging to distinguish and to assess 5 separate levels of the trainee's working and therefore supervision. We recommend that the trainee is assessed in 3 levels: beginner, intermediate or competent.
Trainee progresses from being a beginner at supervision levels 4 and then 3, through to intermediate, levels 2 and 1, and finally, competency is achieved, level 0. Here's an example of assessment criteria for handling and restraint. The text describes the performance of the trainee at each of the levels, from beginner through to competent. Here are the assessment criteria in a little more detail. The text in each of the boxes from beginner to competent, the increasing ability and complexity required at each stage. By comparing the trainee's performance to these criteria, the assessor determines the level at which the trainee is currently working. Here's an example of an assessment sheet showing several assessment criteria. These are shown down the left-hand column. Examples would be handling and restraint, welfare of the animal, preparation for the procedure, and carrying out the procedure itself.
There are assessment criteria in the other areas too, such as knowledge and professional behaviours, again with increasing complexity as the trainee gains competence. Next, we'll show you how to complete a DOPS form for your assessment of the trainee.
As the assessor watches the trainee carry out the task, they highlight the text which corresponds to the level at which the trainee is working. This may be in one or more of the columns from beginner through to competent. As the assessment progresses, the assessor highlights the text for each of the assessment criteria, that is, each one of the horizontal rows. In the example shown here, the trainee isn't yet able to do all of the elements in the task, so not all of the lines are highlighted. Once you have highlighted the text for each of the assessment criteria using the rows and columns on the sheet, you can make an assessment of the trainee's performance. The trainee is rated at the lowest level at which they're currently working. In our example here, the trainee is still a beginner and requires supervision.
Once you've completed the assessment, it's very important to give the trainee some feedback about how they did. There's a space on the DOPS form for you to do this, and it is a useful written record to help the trainee to progress and to give praise where they've done really well. The completed DOPS assessment can then be added to the trainee's training file.